So it's another year and we have yet another Disney remake, and this one definitely stirred up some controversy going into it, not only because of things going on in real life, which I'm not going to get into, but also because this film seems to be making a lot of different decisions than the other Disney remakes. In specific, this was trying to do something a little bit different than what we'd seen before, changing up the source material, changing up the original film, and just kind of making it a bit more original and making it its own thing. But now we actually have the movie. It arrived on Disney Plus finally after all these delays, and while we didn't get to see the film on the big screen, it was pretty cool to see on Disney Plus on Premiere Access, I will say. I quite enjoyed the gold banner over it. It kind of made it feel very elite and very special, which was nice. But we've actually seen the movie now, so how is it? Well, let's dive into it. So, just to give you some context before I dive into my thoughts on the film, just to let you know, the two Disney remakes that I've seen before this one are the two that came out last year, which is Aladdin, which I liked, borderline loved, and then The Lion King, which I really was not a big fan of. So it was kind of 50-50, you know, it was kind of, I don't know how this movie was going to go, I didn't know how I was going to take to it, and also, I didn't grow up with Disney, this is the thing, I did not grow up with Disney, so I didn't watch the original Mulan before watching this new one. Same with, I didn't watch the original Aladdin before I watched the Aladdin remake, which is probably why I liked it so much, which is funny, because in contrast to The Lion King, I actually had seen the original Lion King just before I watched the Lion King 2019 remake, and I kind of hated the Lion King remake, so I think that's kind of interesting, but I don't really have much of a connection to Disney or the Disney remake, so therefore this was kind of just another film for me. Obviously I knew what it was based on, but it wasn't really much nostalgia there wasn't really anything like that for me, so for me I was kind of just watching this film as a film. The main thing that stuck out to me about Mulan was the visuals, and I loved the visuals throughout the film. I thought it was such a beautifully shot film, it was a very colourful movie, especially if you watch the film in 4K on a really good 4K TV like I did. It just has this incredible visual style. It's really beautiful to look at, it's a very stunning film, and it's a shame that this film wasn't able to debut on the big screen because it really could have benefited from that because of how beautiful the film looks. And even though, as I said, I very much enjoyed watching it at home and I very much enjoyed the Disney Plus Premiere Access thing they had going on with it, I still feel like this film could have benefited a lot on the big screen. But visually the film is stunning and I was very, very impressed with it. You just were constantly amazed looking over the screen thinking, wow, that just looks fantastic, and that is consistent throughout the whole film. Also, the action is fantastic throughout the film. There are a couple of really big battle sequences, and there's a lot of sword fighting, and there's some archery going on, and there's a lot of really cool, exciting, fun action scenes. Again, it would have been great to see this on the big screen, particularly in a big IMAX screen where we could have really got into those action sequences a little bit more, but from what they are, and from what we saw of them, they are fantastic action scenes, and I really enjoyed them. I think they really helped to emphasize the film, especially because this felt like a lot more mature than a lot of the other Disney films that we've seen, especially the live action remakes, particularly the ones that I've seen. This felt a lot more like a maturer film, which I really enjoyed. The action is it's not violent or anything like that, it's not going to scare kids away, but it's not exactly something that perhaps young kids would particularly be into. And I thought that was interesting. I thought that was an interesting choice for Disney to kind of go with that, especially because this film, I believe, is a 12A, so that is much higher than most Disney remakes and most Disney films in general. So that action I found very innovative and different, especially for Disney. I also really enjoyed the story of the film. Again, I didn't really know much about Mulan. I kind of knew the basics of it, but not really the specifics. So the story was kind of fresh to me, and I enjoyed the story. I thought it was really quite cool the way you have this woman who just wants to fight in replacement of her father, but obviously they don't accept women in the Chinese military, so she has to pose as a man. I mean, there are a couple of issues with that because there are a couple of moments in the film where it's just incredibly obvious. Particularly there's this one character who is kind of like the male counterpart to Mulan, and you can just tell, there's like this scene where you're just like, come on man, like, do you not realise that's a guy, like, that's a woman, like, come on. Like, there's a couple of scenes like that where it's like, you know, it's a bit obvious, but beyond that, it's a really good story, and I was really into it. I enjoyed it. I thought it was a really well told story. I thought it was fun. It was different to what I'd seen before. Again, for me, I've never seen the original, so it was new to me. So I thought it was a really good story overall. However, I do have a couple of negatives. For one, my number one major negative is the villain. The villain of the film is pretty non-existent, which is kind of crazy given the fact that the whole story of the film kind of comes from him. You know, if he wasn't in the movie, we wouldn't necessarily have the story in the same way that we do. So the fact that his character is so non-existent and so just gone from most of the movie was really shocking to me. I don't know how that compares to the animated original. I don't know if the villain has a different role or is a bit more, you know, prominent in the original, or if he has the exact same role, which if he has the exact same amount of screen time, then I guess that's fair enough. I was just expecting a bit more from the villain. From what I have heard, though, from my friend who loves the original Mulan, is that the villain is actually different in the original, like it's actually a different character. So they've changed that up as well. But the villain, you know, he's just not in the movie all that much. So like when he literally showed up in the final battle, I was like, oh yeah, you exist. And that wasn't really a good sign. So the villain, he's not terrible or anything like that. He's just not in the movie as much as I felt like he should have been. However, as a counterpoint to that, there is actually another villain in this film who you would have seen in the trailer. She's like this witch sorcerer woman who can turn into a bird. She was sick. She was really cool. I liked her character a lot, and I believe she's not in the original, so this is also a new character they've introduced for the film. I thought she was great. Like, a really fun character, very interesting, has a nice arc throughout. I really enjoyed her character. She was actually a bit more fleshed out than the main villain, which I thought was interesting. So I really enjoyed her character. So like I said, even though the main villain, like the main villain was a bit of a letdown, we did have her, and she kind of saved the villain side of the film for me. So overall, I enjoyed Mulan. I thought this movie was a good time. Again, I didn't love it or anything. I didn't think it was amazing. I didn't like it as much as Aladdin, but I liked it a hell of a lot more than The Lion King, that's for sure. So for me, Mulan is kind of like, you know, it's a good movie. I think it's a good movie. I think it's got a lot riding on it. I think a lot of people are going to enjoy it. Again, I think a lot of people are really going to hate it as well, because a lot of people just like to hate Disney for everything they do. And also, because this film does seemingly make a lot of changes to the original, I feel like a lot of people aren't going to be happy about that. But at the same time, I would argue that everyone was complaining that The Lion King was a shot-for-shot remake of The Lion King, which granted, it was, but everyone complained about that. So now Disney made Mulan and made it incredibly different, and now people are complaining about that. Disney just can't win. It's the same with Star Wars. No one can win. But I think that Mulan has a lot riding on it. Again, I think it's very colourful. I think it's a beautiful looking and beautifully shot film. I think it's got great action scenes. I think it's a really fun story. If you've not experienced it before, or even if you have experienced it before, I think you'll enjoy it once more here. It's just, unfortunately, it is let down in the villain department. The villain is very weak, and again, just pretty non-existent throughout the film, unfortunately. But I do think the character who is kind of this secondary villain really keeps that part of the movie up. So for me, Mulan, I really enjoyed it. I had a great time watching it on Disney Plus with Premier Access. Like, I know a lot of people are very iffy on paying money for it and stuff like that, especially because it is coming out in December on Disney Plus, pretty much worldwide. So if you haven't watched the movie yet and you're still iffy on paying the price, I would probably wait for it, to be honest. Like, I can't exactly recommend you paying for it, especially because it is coming out for free. So my advice for Mulan, you know, if you haven't seen it yet, you want to, but you're not that desperate, you can definitely wait. And like I say, the movie's not like absolutely incredible. It's not something you have to see right now. You can definitely wait a couple of months and check it out for free on Disney Plus when it eventually comes out. But I did enjoy Mulan. Again, as someone who's not seen the original, someone who's not connected to Disney, I had a good time with the film, and I thought it was a good watch for a Friday night. So with that said, I'm going to give Mulan a 3 out of 5. I thought it was a very enjoyable experience, one that I will definitely probably watch again at some point in the future. Maybe not too soon in the future, but definitely at some point when I decide to revisit some of these Disney remakes. I thought it was a good time, and again, something different than what we've seen before. It wasn't a shot-for-shot remake, it wasn't super authentic to the original from what I can gather. It was quite nice to see a bit more of a mature live-action Disney film. But have you guys seen Mulan yet? If you haven't, make sure to let me know all your thoughts about it in the comment section down below. Did you enjoy it, or were you not really a fan? And also, if you've seen the original Mulan, how do you feel like this one compares? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments down below. And as always, guys, if you want to see more movie reviews and movie-related videos just like this one, be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss any uploads from me. And I hope to see you guys again next time.